Hi, this is Jim Feist in Las Vegas. I'm on a 56-32 college basketball run, including my tournament game of the year last week on Rhode Island, and they defeated Creighton 84-72. I have plays daily on Vegas Sports Masters. That's right, Vegas Sports Masters, including my college bailout game of the month on Thursday and a backboard buster game of the month Friday, each for $25. I also have a tournament special, the rest of the college hoops. That's right, the rest of the college hoops, including the Sweet 16 for $49, and both of those games of the month. That's right, all those games plus the games of the month by calling Vegas Sports Masters at 888-777-4155. I'll repeat that, 888-777-4155, 4155. Now stay tuned as Dave Cokin and I preview the Sweet 16 on Proline.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Proline, the longest-running sports handicapping show in America, direct from Las Vegas. It's Sweet 16 week, and then Elite 8. We're going to talk some college basketball. We're also going to get into a little bit of early baseball. Exhibition games are almost done. Season's about ready to begin. First, though, Jim, 56-32 is your current college basketball run, and you hit your tournament game of the year last weekend. My home state, URI, Rhode Island, comes through beating Creighton wire to wire, 84-72. We have a poll question every week on our social media networks. And this week's Proline poll question, which, of course, we announced the results right here on the show. This week we asked, what conference has impressed the most so far in the tournament? And we didn't even bother to put the ACC in because they obviously have not been very good. So we put up the Big 10, the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the SEC. And Jim, who won?
Well, the winner is one-sided again. 48% of you chose the Big 10. I can understand that. 33% said the Pac-12, 14% the SEC, and 5% said the Big 12. Discussing that, the Big 10, 8-4 straight up, 8-4 ATS. Michigan, of course, beating Oklahoma State, plus Louisville, Purdue, Wisconsin still going. Wisconsin beat Villanova, who's the number one and the champion from last year, as a 5.5-point dog. The Pac-12, 8-1 straight up, 7-1 and 1 ATS. Arizona, UCLA, and Oregon, which are the three top teams in that conference. And of course, USC almost made it in there too.
And they covered both their games. Actually, they covered all three of their games.
Yeah, they. The funny thing about that team, I'm not going to dive, but that's a team that simply doesn't play the first half of their games.
It's amazing.
It comes back the second half like gangbusters. So if you're watching that, and you just bet them in the second half, you got a pretty easy winner. They just overwhelmed people in the second half. They didn't quite get there the other day to win the game, but they did cover. The Big 12, of course, with Baylor, West Virginia, and Kansas. Kansas now, well, I'll give you the numbers. They're 8-3 straight up, 7-4 ATS. Kansas has this unusual and maybe, well, totally unfair advantage of playing the next two games in a place where they've already played 5 games in Kansas City, Missouri. I don't like when that happens. They're in the Sprint Center, but they're playing Purdue this time, and then they'll play the winner of their next game if they win by that one or get by that one. So that's an unfair advantage for Kansas, and everybody should be aware of that. The SEC has, they're 7-2, 6-3 ATS, Florida and Kentucky. Surprisingly, South Carolina is in there, and they did something the other night in beating Duke. And it's not only that they won the game as a 6.5-point dog, but Dave, they scored 65 points in the second half.
It's unbelievable.
When I read that, I said, is that crazy? 40 minutes, they scored 65 points?
They were 7 for 35 from the field in the first half. 7 for 35. And if you watch that, I think you had to look at and say, boy, you know what? South Carolina's going to be live in the second half because they're not going to go out and shoot 20% again. But I don't know that anybody expected the incredible shooting performance they put on in the second half, and they just beat the daylights out of Duke in the second half. I had Duke in the game, so I have clearly had the loser in that one. You know, I'm not going to complain overall. It's been pretty good, but I had the wrong side of that game. And the Gamecocks are still alive, and they play great defense, and we'll see what happens. The flop in the tournament has been the ACC. North Carolina's still standing. Not much else. They're 7-8 straight up, 2-13 against the spread. So the conference that most people seem to be tabbing as the conference to beat in this tournament has only one survivor. Now, North Carolina could win the whole thing, but they're going to have to play better than they did for the, we'll say that the last 30 minutes against Arkansas. They were lucky to get out of there. They had the team dead to rights early and just relaxed on defense, let Arkansas get right back into the game, and North Carolina was barely able to survive that matchup. So they're going to have to do better this weekend. They've got Butler coming up, and obviously North Carolina's a good-sized favorite in that game, but Butler's not going to just lay down. So, it's going to be some fun matchups this weekend. I think the one that's the most entertaining, going in, and this doesn't have as much to do with the game as what's going on off the court with LeVar Ball. So UCLA and Kentucky, I mean, this is going to be, you wonder if this, at some point, does this become a distraction to the team? Or is it something that keeps him loose? I don't really know how to figure it out. The guy's making a complete idiot out of himself, but he's certainly garnering a lot of attention in the process.
Well, not the kid. It's the father.
No, it's the father.
Yeah, he's probably going to cost the kid money in the signing, because they're going to have to deal. I got to deal with this father all the time to say, I really don't need that kind of distraction around my team. That could happen. I mean, it certainly happened with guys like Manziel and people like that, and Rice, where teams will shy away from big distractions. So the guy's living vicariously through his son. And when he says he can beat, in his prime, he could have beaten Michael Jordan one-on-one. A lot of people tried that, it never worked. So it's pretty crazy. This has been a hell of a tournament. I think, isn't there one other ACC team still alive in the one of the other tournaments?
Georgia Tech.
Right, and they just pulled a big upset on the road against an SEC team, Mississippi, last night.
Yeah, Josh Pastner's doing a really nice job with that team, and they're going to get to go to Madison Square Garden pretty good. He was the coach of the year in the ACC, by the way, so Pastner's doing a heck of a job there, and that program looks like it's in the right direction.
Is that his first year there, Dave?
Yes, he was at Memphis previously, and it actually didn't work out real well there, and but he's got a new lease on life, that's for sure.
Did he follow Calipari at Memphis?
I didn't hear you. Say that again.
Who did he follow at Memphis? Who was the coach before that? Was it Calipari?
No, Calipari hasn't been there forever.
Okay.
Now you got me curious. I'm going to have to look.
Sorry.
Because I'm blanking out on who it was. So I'm going to actually have to look it up.
That's why they invented Google.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. He's going to get some good athletes. He had him at Georgia Tech. There's no question about that. But it just never came together for him for some reason there. But he's got guys that appear to be more willing to buy into what he wants to do at Memphis. Let's see. He was there. He did follow Calipari, actually.
I thought so, yeah.
Wow. I'd forgotten about that. Calipari was there until 2009, and then Pastner took over in 2010. And now they got Tubby Smith. So you're right. Good call.
They've had good big name coaches there. That's for sure.
Oh, they always have.
Yeah. In the Sweet 16, and now it's down to prime time now. And I said before the tournament there was no real number one team in the nation. I thought everybody had a flaw, and I think that's shown up that way. That's why there's been so many upsets. Now Kansas right now is clearly got to be the favorite for most people because they're playing two games relatively almost at home.
Yeah,
so that's an unfair advantage, which would tip them over the scales to be maybe number one in this tournament. But they're now a 5-point favorite over Purdue. I think it comes down right now. Do you have you need to have the talent, but you also need to be a coach that can handle whatever talent you have on the floor. Now, granted, the teams that are not supposed to be this far would be South Carolina, would be Xavier, and of course Butler.
right.
These are the teams that most people would say, we didn't expect them to be there. But they have good coaches. The question is, in games like this, when you don't have a real number one dynamo team that just can wipe everybody off the floor, which we don't have this year. Everybody's got pluses and minuses, like North Carolina will kill you on the boards, but they have other flaws. Gonzaga, who's had a great record all year long, played in a softer conference. There's all kinds of flaws that we have here, but there's pluses and minuses. But it comes down to coaching in the Sweet 16 and the 8 and the Final 8 and everything else. Who's going to out-coach who? Can you figure that out? And do you have any pluses and minuses in the coaching area, Dave?
Not to any extent. I think maybe Bill Self has an edge over Matt Painter. Xavier, Arizona is interesting because I thought Xavier last week, Chris Mack versus Leonard Hamilton was a coaching mismatch. And it showed because he threw a zone at Florida State and the Seminoles looked like they'd never seen one before. That game was actually over in a hurry. Xavier just wiped them out. But he's not going to have that advantage this week against Arizona. I think that the coaching matchups, to me, are pretty even. And I'm just looking more at talent now and matchups and trying to find a couple of good plays. And I think I found one. So I guess we'll find out how that goes on Friday. But one thing I can stress is that, you don't have to play every game. To me, I treat it like the regular season in that just because a game is a big game doesn't mean I'm going to play it. And as of now, I've only got one NCAA tournament game, but it's one that I like quite a bit. So we'll see how it ends up.
It's really about winning money. It's, granted, we're in the entertainment business as well. A lot of our clients, because all these games are going to be on national TV,
oh yeah,
have a little action. So what I say to people that want to have a little action, put if you're a $500 player or more, put $50 or $100 on the teams you like, and then the teams that we give you that are big, bet your $500 or $1,000 or whatever the number is. It could be $5,000 or $10,000. But if you want to have some action, so viewing interest, so to speak, that's what I would do, because it's difficult to pick all of these games. The odds makers are not stupid. They do make good lines, and when they make good lines, you're basically coming down to a coin flip at the end of the games. If you are looking for teams to play and you have a problem with who is going to end up in the last 2 minutes of the game with all the foul shooting and everything else, go for the team that might be leading. If you think the team might be leading and can shoot their foul shots, that's a big key at the end of these games.
You're not kidding. By the way, we should point out that if you want to ever ask us any sports wagering questions, go to ProlineTV.com, drop us a question. Jim, anybody who does that gets 7 days of action for free just by subscribing.
That's right. Go to Proline TV, get a free week of service on me. Plus, go to JimFeist.com for free stats, articles, videos, my free fast facts, which are tremendous, and plays from the nation's top handicappers.
And let's talk a little baseball before we get out of here. The World Baseball Classic will conclude tonight. It's been a terrific tournament. Anyway, a couple of notes on baseball. I'll be interested to see how teams approach the last week of exhibition games as far as the players that are coming back from the World Baseball Classic. I'd rather see this played in the middle of the season, to be honest with you. But it's been a lot of fun. We've seen some pitchers get in some crucial innings early, and I can't guarantee this is going to be the case. It's just speculation, but I think the guys who have pitched in the World Baseball Classic might actually have a little bit of an advantage going into the season. They've got those competitive juices already flowing, and that could be a plus for some of these guys who've worked some innings in this tournament, as opposed to facing, a collection of maybe not such great players, minor leaguers and things like that in exhibition games. So, and again, it's just a thought. I'm not chiseling that in stone, but we'll see how it goes. As far as what I'm drawing out of the exhibition season, not much. These games don't have anything to do with what the regular season is going to be like. So for those who are looking at the games like I am, I wouldn't read a whole lot into what you're seeing there. The one thing I do like to look at with pitchers is how are they commanding their stuff. It's not so much the hits or runs that they allow, but are they exhibiting good control? The guys who are walking people in preseason, having command issues, those could be guys that you might want to take a look at going against, especially if they happen to be favorites early in the season. So that's one early thought for baseball.
Dave, adding to that is a couple things. First of all, when they start the baseball season, many times it starts in some very cold weather.
Yes.
And, it's hard to say what the weather's going to be like in 2 weeks around the country, but from time to time you can get some warm spells and it really doesn't have that much of an effect. But when it's cold weather, who does it favor, the pitchers or the hitters?
I think it favors the pitchers.
It's not hard for them to get warm and loose?
No, they get warmed up pretty well, and the hitters, first of all, I'll tell you, if it's cold and you get a kind of a rough swing, boy, I'm telling you what, that'll sting the hands. Ooh.
Yeah, I remember those days when I was playing Little League and stuff, but that was a long time ago, of course. But there's a young man I've been reading about a little bit on the internet that is supposed to be incredible at the velocity he throws. Do you know who I'm talking about? 105 miles an hour?
Oh, yeah. Michael Kopech, who was with the Red Sox, and he went over to the White Sox in the Chris Sale deal. He's not ready for the majors yet. He probably pitched Double-A this year. I think they project for him to probably be there next year. But this guy's got an electric arm, and he's got a chance to be a dynamite pitcher. I tell you, the question on him is his maturity. He's had some off the field issues. Had a suspension, got in a fight, and broke a hand in a fight with a teammate last year. But sometimes kids do stupid things, and he does seem to be. He's got a world of potential. Let's put it that way. The White Sox are going to be awful this year, but they've made some good deals to refurbish the farm system, and they've got some really good prospects now. So, a couple of years, the White Sox might be back in contention. They're not going to be very good in 2017, though.
Yeah, but the Red Sox might be very good. They got some good players, and their lineup is very prolific.
They better be good because they mortgaged the future to try and win this year. And anything short of getting to a World Series, this year would be a disappointment for the Red Sox. And I don't know that they, we'll see what happens, but I think David Price's elbow is going to be a concern all year, and that could obviously have an impact on the rotation. I'm not sure Rick Porcello is going to pitch at the level he did last year. Obviously, Sale is a huge pickup. They got to keep Stephen Wright healthy, though, and I guess it'd probably be Drew Pomerantz in the fifth spot, although they got Eduardo Rodriguez out there as well. The bullpen looks good, and the offense, as you mentioned, is very strong. But Cleveland is right there. The Indians, if their pitching stays healthy, this Indians team is going to be really dangerous. And if Michael Brantley is able to contribute anything, and that's, iffy right now because he's had so many injury problems and keeping him on the field could be a problem. But if Brantley comes back to anything where he was prior to the injury problems, I'm not so sure that Cleveland isn't the better team overall than the Red Sox. Excellent starting pitching, a terrific bullpen. But the one thing you have to concern yourself with in the Indians is, are they going to stay healthy with that rotation? Carrasco continues to have some problems. Salazar has had breakdown issues in the past. And at some point, you would think the innings are going to start to catch up to Corey Kluber. So not chiseling anything in stone. Obviously I'm a Red Sox fan, so I have to leave my bias out of it. But I do think that Boston right now looks like the team to beat in the American League by just a shade over the Indians. I don't really see. I think the other teams, obviously in a short series, anything can happen at the end of the year. So you got to be careful with a Texas or a Houston or even a Seattle if they make the playoffs. But I think the Red Sox and Indians have distanced themselves from the pack as the two teams to beat. And then the other league, to me, it's the Cubs and Dodgers. I don't see anybody else that can win that league. I suppose Nationals fans will be upset when I say that, but and Mets fans might as well. But I think the Dodgers and Cubs are the two best teams, and where the Cubs are just absolutely loaded.
They are, and we go back to last year in the World Series. Cleveland went up 3-1, but they were really short in the pitching staff.
Yep.
A lot of those guys that you mentioned were out, and they were really stretched, and it really showed. And they lost those last 3 games to lose the World Series to the Cubs. And it was an amazing series and an amazing year. I favor Indians this year. I think they made enough changes, and if they get a little bit healthier in the pitching staff, but they're going to, if you get to the World Series again, if they get there, because Boston is very good too. Like you said, the Dodgers and the Cubs. It's going to be real interesting. In about a week or so, we're going to be starting the NBA playoffs. And to me, the NBA, even though I'm doing 59% since November, the 81 games they play during the regular season is almost like an exhibition season.
Yeah, it really is.
They need the games to get in the playoffs and et cetera, et cetera. But 16 to the 32 teams get the playoffs, which is too many. It takes value away. And they sit so many players. It's not like it used to be. Not, of course, nothing in the world is. But when we get to the real games, who's going to be able to turn it on and stay focused and play 40, a full game and stay on the floor and because you're not learning as much from the regular season as we did years ago when the teams in the Karl Malone days, now that he's been in the news, when these guys actually play every day.
Well, yeah, I mean, they better fix this problem because I think they're going to start to kill interest in the league as far as the regular season is concerned, and you can't really, obviously the playoffs are going to be tremendous and everybody will be watching, but they've kind of reduced the regular season to, as you've said, a lengthy exhibition season. We know who the top teams in the league are going to be. Cleveland's the big favorite in the East. Golden State's clearly the favorite in the West if Durant comes back healthy come playoff time. The Spurs are dangerous. The Rockets are entertaining. But, these other teams that are in the playoffs, for the most part, have no chance at all. And I don't know. To me, it kind of makes it boring. If you don't have action going, I don't know how you watch the games.
Well, there's a lot. I don't know what their money situation, their financial situation is, if they're making money or not. Or
sure, they're making money.
Well, I mean, each franchise, there's quite a few of them. Are they all doing well, or some doing well? But when it gets down to the players decide where they're going to want to play, and what games they want to play, and it's almost like the inmates are running the asylum, and
I think it's bullshit. Okay, and you can call me old school on this, but you see, I don't see NHL teams play just as many games as the NBA, and it's an incredibly physical game. I don't see them sitting their stars.
Dave, doesn't it come down to the union being given? It's almost like the NBA can't do anything about it because the union's too strong.
Well, all I know is this: these tickets are expensive, and if you're going to a game in Memphis and you want to see LeBron, whatever, Golden State comes in once. No, Cleveland actually be perfect because they go in there once a year, and LeBron and the guys are sitting out. I think they should, give the fans their money back. They're ripping the fans off, and I'm not saying that you're going to get a great game every time you buy a ticket to an NBA game or turn it on TV. It's not going to happen, but it's just a flat-out rip-off when you spending a lot of money to get these tickets, and you don't even get to see the best guys in the court. That's a joke.
I'll tell you a true story. A friend of mine and his son, who live out of the country, but they're big NBA fans. They live out of the country and they love the NBA. They love college basketball too, but they decided to fly to to see a basketball game because there were stars that were supposed to play, and they wanted to see those guys. And the young man, is a basketball player in high school, and he really wanted to see these idols that he's grown up really loving. Of course, that was one of the sit-out games, and they didn't play. And they had paid the money, bought the tickets, flew on a plane, stayed in a hotel, and the guys didn't play. There's something wrong with that picture.
Well, here's my solution, if you will. Don't sit them all. Look, I don't have a problem if you sit a guy occasionally, but don't sit them all in one game. If you look at a 162-game baseball season, everybody gets. There's no Cal Ripkens anymore. Nobody plays every game. So Trout might get, 8 days off during the season or something like that. But they don't sit everybody else as well. In other words, if Trout's out, well, they're not going to also sit Pujols and whatever other stars they might have on the team. They'll sit one guy. What these NBA teams are doing is taking all the regulars, basically, and saying the hell with it. And by the way, even some of the lesser teams are doing it. I mean, the Sacramento Kings of all teams actually sat 3 regulars in a game last week to give them a night off. It shouldn't be any more than 1. And I don't know how you fix this with a rule, but how about common sense on the part of the coaches, the players, and the owners, where you don't rip off your fan base like that? It's just disgusting.
You would think eventually it's going to wear on the game and the teams and the league. But anyway, we can't fix it all. And
no, we can't fix any of it, actually. So
no. Well, I can fix it because I just don't pay to go to the games.
Neither do I. Anyway, listen, if you want to get free plays every day on a recorded message, you can do so by calling 888-294-1970.
And you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Jim Feist Sports. And you can get free plays daily by texting GAME to 25827.